Hello and welcome everyone. This is a teaching video on the Vulgate without any special graphics or distracting music. The lines of truth on the subject of the Vulgate have been obscured by certain people and organizations with an agenda. Our interest in this video is not to discuss the people or the groups or their agenda. It is to educate the people who watch this video. Be aware. Be very cautious of supposed facts when it varies from the facts presented in this video. A quick online search will show many false teachings on this subject. After the facts presented in this video, you will be able to spot them. Now, first let's go over what the Vulgate is and then its history. The Catholic Latin Vulgate has nothing to do with Christians. Also, the Christians have nothing to do with the Vulgate. The Vulgate is purely a Catholic Bible. Make note that Christian and Catholic history are two different histories. Let's quickly review some terminology. And remember, there are people who will try to obscure the simplest of definitions. Let's talk about the Roman Latin language. Latin originated from the Pelagians, an ancient race. Latin derived its name from the state of Latium, where it was the language used and then carried to the known world by the Romans. Now it is a dead language in this age. It's on the dead language list. There are primarily two Latin Bible variations. One is the Old Latin Bible, which is Christian, and the other is the Vulgate Bible, which is Catholic. Let's do a quick differentiation between the Old Latin Bible and the Latin Vulgate Bible. Whenever Old Latin Bible is mentioned, it is an early Christian, not a Catholic Bible. The Old Latin Bible is a Byzantine text-type Bible written in the Old Latin language. Old Latin does not mean the Bible is older than others. It is a Latin language which predates and is different from Middle or Modern Latin. Simply, Old Latin Bible is the same as the King James Version Bible in text type. The Old Latin Bible has nothing to do with the Catholics. The Old Latin Bible is not a Vulgate. The Old Latin Bible is a Christian Bible, not Catholic. The Old Latin Bible was finished 200 years before Catholics existed, and 300 years before Jerome's Latin version. Old Latin language was used extensively in the Roman Empire. The Old Latin Christian Bible was translated from the Greek text. The Old Latin Bible of the Christians is what the Catholics admit their early church fathers quoted from. The Koine Greek New Testament was finished and published by 100 AD. The Old Latin was made in 125 AD. The Syriac was made in 150 AD. The first Romanized Latin Bible in the Vulgate line was in 405 AD. Now let's look at the Vulgate Catholic Latin version. What is it primarily, you ask? Well, the Latin Vulgate is a Catholic copied, corrupted version of the Christian Bible. It is not a translation. The Bible was already in Latin, called the Christian Old Latin Version, 300 years before Jerome's version. The Roman Church also knew Greek, and also had the Christian Scriptures in Greek. They did not use the Christian Scriptures 99% of the time. I will say there are a few oddball Vulgate Bibles that have one book in Old Latin, Christian Scriptures, but the rest is the Vulgate. If you're trying to figure out how that could be, just remember that was in the Catholic tyranny of the Dark Ages. Bibles were forbidden even to priests. The majority of people and priests could not read or write any language. All books were banned or burned by the Catholics. So parts of the Bible were smuggled, often incomplete. One account said that Christians sewed pages hidden in their clothes. Now, again, let's talk about the word Vulgate. There was no Vulgate Bible until 1546 AD. The word Vulgate applied to a specific text did not exist till the Council of Trent in 1546 AD. The Council of Trent coined the word Vulgate as referring to a specific text. The Council of Trent decided on the first official Vulgate Catholic Bible in 1546 AD. Before the Council of Trent, the Latin versions were named after who wrote them. That is, by the name of the person who wrote the version. Here is something you may not have been aware of. The Vulgate is not a Bible. That's correct. The Vulgate is not a Bible. There are thousands of them, all written by men and corrupted, all saying something different. Okay, now that we have shown the differences between the two Latin versions, the Old Latin Bible and the Vulgate Bible, let's talk about Vulgate history. The Latin Vulgate history starts with Origen of Alexandria. Origen was not a textual critic, but was a text perverter of God's Word. He took the Textus Receptus, whether in Greek or Latin, and the Masoretic text of the Hebrews and Christians, and made a corrupt version called the Septuagint and the Hexapla around 240 AD. How do we know? Because the Christian Byzantine Textus Receptus was the only text that existed before 240 AD. It's the original, and there's no disputing it. Origen's texts made their way to Rome. There was an incomplete Bible corruption made in Rome called the Vaticanus, which was of the Alexandrian text type and dated around 325 AD. Supposedly, these Alexandrian texts are the corrupted texts used by Jerome to finish the corrupted Jerome Latin Bible in 405 AD. Vulgates are in the Alexandrian text line, Origen being the father of Vulgates, not Jerome. Augustine said anyone with Greek and Latin skills made a Latin Vulgate Bible version. That means there were many of them. The Greek mentioned here is the Septuagint from the Alexandrian Greek text. It's not the Christian Byzantine Greek text, also known as the Textus Receptus. So there were many Romanized Latin Bibles at the time of Jerome. Also, I will mention Jerome's Bible version does not exist. No one remembers Jerome's version, meaning it was lost. No one remembered what it looked like or what it said. Jerome's existence and his Latin Bible version are spurious, meaning they could be fake. Jerome's version was not a translation. I repeat, Jerome's version was not a translation. He rewrote the Bible using Origen's corrupted text to suit himself and the Catholic Church. The Christian Bible was already in existence 300 years before his time. In the Middle Ages, when Catholics decided to rewrite the Bible, they called it correction or editing or revision of the Holy Scriptures. That, as we know as Christians, is not humanly possible, because our Christian Bible was written by God. We, as Christians or Jews, do not have license to change the words of God. It is written some of these people in Rome had the Christian Old Latin Bible, but refused to use it or hold it in esteem, and instead wrote corrupted versions of the Christian Bible for various agendas. They were still arguing over the order and evidently the number of books in the Bible and into the Middle Ages. Remember, the Christian Bible was finished and published all over the known world by 100 AD. Another thing to take note of is the Romanized Latin Vulgate versions did not contain an Apocrypha until the 1500s. Most Vulgates were incomplete Latin Bibles to begin with, meaning they just corrupted the Gospel books or the epistles or Psalms. The Christian Old Latin Bible was published and circulated all over the known world 300 years before Jerome's version. 1450 years before the first official Catholic Bible, and 1450 years before the first Vulgate. Make a note that the oldest extant complete Vulgate is 10th century, around 950 AD. There are two separate complete Vulgates that date to this era. They are in existence, while the Christian Peshitta dates to the 5th century, while the text written of the Peshitta is dated to 150 AD. To show the differentiation, the Christian Old Testament dates to before Christ, while the Catholic Vulgate Old Testament dates to the 5th century. Let's move on from Jerome's Latin version, supposedly in 405 AD. Also remember, Augustine said many persons, meaning Catholics, with a Greek and Latin knowledge were making their own versions. During the 6th century, another Latin Bible revision was ordered by Cassiodorus because he didn't like the Jerome version. In the 8th century, another version was ordered by Charlemagne because he didn't like Jerome's or Cassiodorus's version. After that, the list of rewrites goes on, more than we can list. Then we come to the Council of Trent in 1546 AD. The council declares that they have an official Catholic Latin Bible, and they call it the Vulgate. And since the popes were declared infallible in 1870 AD, we have the first Roman Catholic official infallible Vulgate. Then, in 1590, Sixtus V orders another official infallible revision. Then, in 1592, Clement VIII orders yet another official infallible revision. Then, in 1593, the official infallible revision is edited. Then, in 1598, the official infallible revision is edited again. And on, with many more Vulgates being made. So what have we learned? The Vulgate is not any one Bible saying the same thing. There are thousands of them all saying something different. To just say, I have a Vulgate Bible, does not mean anything other than you have a Latin language corruption of the biblical text. There are 1,000 of them. Which one do you have? It must be differentiated from 1,000 different Bibles. The term Vulgate did not exist pertaining to a specific Bible before 1546 AD at the Council of Trent. It does not mean one Bible saying the same thing, though the Catholics try to make you believe that. As mentioned, Latin language Bibles before the Council of Trent were called by the name of the writer who wrote them. Also, it does not mean a complete Bible, Old and New Testament included. Most of the Latin Bibles and the Vulgate Bibles are partial Bibles or incomplete. Now, it's not the object in this video to compare such undertakings to the Christian Bible, or the atrocities arisen from such undertakings. Quickly noting, the Vulgates are blasphemy, doctrinal heresy, and perversion of God's Word. Also note that no version of the Vulgate has ever been declared as authentic by the Roman Catholic Church. Christians have their own Bible in the King James Version, in which the text is still unchanged from the originals. Christians have no part in the Vulgate atrocities. This is not in any way a full list of Catholic Latin Vulgate corruptions. Like I said, there are far too many. But this video gives you a history of the Vulgate, also where the term Vulgate originated, what a Catholic Vulgate is. That was the intention of this video. Now you know. Now you can see the diluted misrepresentation of what the Vulgate is.